Hello and welcome to Manger's Study. I am your host, CJ, and this is episode 8 on Project 2025. As I am recording this, it is the 5th of August, 2024, and there are 91 days until midnight on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, Election Day. We are on page 69, or page 129 of the PDF, Strengthening America's Industrial Base. Let's see what shenanigans Project 2025 gets up to here. Project 2025 says that the U.S. must replenish and maintain ammo and equipment that has been depleted because of U.S. support to Ukraine. Basically, every Western nation that's given military aid to Ukraine is having this problem right now. Next, Project 2025 wants to work with the industrial sector to get some reforms to get U.S. industry to be better able to equip the military. And I'm sure the answer will be something other than give us more money. Project 2025 wants to allow acquisition authorities to have the authority to do multi-year procurements and block buys that should increase productivity, decrease costs. Next, Project 2025 wants to economically shoot itself in the foot by making it harder to purchase equipment from non-domestic manufacturers. The Jones Act is letting you know how silly this idea is, but sure, go ahead, make things of lower quality and higher cost for no good reason. To be fair, I don't think that Democrats have much of an alternative, but if Project 2025's goal is to be the culturally conservative Democratic Party, then this policy will help that along. Next, Project 2025 wants a review of onshoring and friendshoring of defense-related industry. Onshoring is when a company takes its non-domestic manufacturing and brings it back to the domestic market, and friendshoring is taking that non-domestic manufacturing and moving it to a friendly or allied country. This is an extension of the last point where the U.S. will make things more expensive and or of lower quality to create American jobs and or theoretically to ensure that war paraphernalia are not reliant on outside sources during wartime. Next up, Project 2025 wants to increase engagement with small businesses to let them know how they can help the Defense Department and help our nation with national security. So they're going to work with smaller companies more, probably with stuff that they can get more cheaply elsewhere. So far, the last few bullet points have just basically been less about defense and more about job creation and domestic spending. Hooray. Project 2025's next major bullet point is optimizing the DoD acquisition community. Once again, Project 2025 wants to get rid of and or streamline the bureaucracy, including with regulation and training. Next up, DoD Research, Development, Test, and Evaluation, or RDT&E, in case you wanted more initialisms in your life. Reforms for RDT&E start with champion, engage, and focus the American innovation ecosystem. So innovation is important. Project 2025 tells us that they must engage with all levels of the innovation ecosystem, from science and research to production, from the public sector to the private sector, etc. Also, concentrating on technology more applicable to modern great power competition as opposed to whatever it is that they're concentrating on now. Also, updating the infrastructure that's been in use since the Cold War. Apparently, there are still parts of the RDT&E ecosystem that are in buildings that are older than most people watching this video right now. Next up is to improve the rapid deployment of technology on the battlefield, with nothing special in there other than the idea to do the one thing that should be done, but mysteriously nobody has figured out yet how to do it before, and I'm sure they will figure it out this time. After that, our next big bullet point is to develop a framework to protect the RDT&E enterprise from foreign exploitation, specifically from China. So this is a plan from Project 2025 to come up with a plan to implement a plan to keep China's plan from getting our technology to succeed. Good luck with that. Next up, Project 2025 addresses DoD foreign military sales. Project 2025 wants to make America the arsenal of democracy again. Sales were down lately, but I wonder how much of that has to do with either A, giving away military equipment, and B, not having enough in our stockpiles to sell because we just gave it all away instead of selling it, as opposed to the U.S. not making as much before, or foreign countries not wanting as much to buy as before. Reforms for this include fixing compatibility issues, minimizing barriers to collaboration, reforming the contracting process because bureaucracy gets in the way. And if you're following along, you'll notice that I moved end informal congressional notification to the end here. I think this sounds a little bit worse than it is because there is still the formal congressional notification that's required by law. Is this particular idea a good thing or a bad thing? On the one hand, it will make weapons sales quicker. On the other hand, it means that Congress has less time to raise objections before the formal notification, which means less time to iron out details that might derail a weapons sale. But on the other hand, Congress hasn't ever actually stopped a weapons sale before. I don't think so. If you're a fan of foreign weapons sales, maybe this is fine. Speaking of that, joint resolutions required to stop a weapons transfer, Congress almost did that once. And then the resolution was vetoed by President Trump, showing how much of a power imbalance the executive already has over this entire process with regards to Congress. So on the whichever hand we are on at the moment, maybe making even minor changes to increase the power of the executive branch in small ways is still something to be avoided. And on the final hand, maybe Project 2025 thinks that the powerful imperial presidency is a good thing, which again just makes them culturally conservative Democrats. Or maybe it makes Democrats culturally progressive Republicans. I'm not sure. It's Teddy Roosevelt arguing with Woodrow Wilson over which trusts are better and should be supported by the state, not whether we should have trusts in the first place, and if we do have trusts, if they should be supported by the federal government. Anyway, on to the next category, DoD personnel. The members of the military are exceptionally important, you see, which is why we waste their lives in pointless overseas ventures and as tripwires in countries most people don't care about and could not find on a map. Young men and women aren't joining up because teachers and influencers, so like YouTubers, TikTok stars, whatever, and they're telling kids not to join, and they aren't telling kids about all the cool Army stuff that happens and stuff, I guess. So for needed reforms, Project 2025 says that we have to rescue recruiting and retention. How? First, we have to make a plan to have a person make a plan to rescue recruiting and retention. The actual plan isn't in here, it's just have a person to make a plan. Sure, fair enough. Then you have to get rid of a system that uses private medical records to disqualify potential recruits. I'm not entirely sure what that one is about, but okay, sure, I guess, why not? Next, we should require the completion of the ASVAB, the test that determines your job, what your job can be in the military, by all students in all schools that receive federal funding, which, depending on how you interpret that, that could basically include every school, public and private, out there. Also, Project 2025 wants to encourage Congress critters to provide time to military recruiters during town hall sessions, because I'm sure that won't be just a massive waste of time. Also, increase ROTC programs in secondary schools, because let's throw more money at things and see what sticks, I suppose. Next, we're going to restore standards. We are going to make the Army great again. Ooh, boy. Entrance criteria should be based on the needs of positions that need to be filled. That makes sense, I guess. When the U.S. is going to recruit people, Project 2025 believes that it should keep out people who are predisposed to requiring medical treatment, for example, HIV positive, or, quote, suffering from gender dysphoria, unquote. Furthermore, people with that gender dysphoria should be expelled from the military. Finally, physical fitness requirements shouldn't take into account gender, race, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. I'm going to tackle that last one first. I must again remind you that I was in the Navy for about 10 years. In the Navy, there is a periodic physical performance test. I don't remember exactly what it was called, PRT, I think, physical requirement test, where you have to do so many push-ups and sit-ups, and you have to run a mile and a half. And women don't have to do as much push-ups or as many sit-ups, and they don't have to run as quickly as men do. So I guess they're going to get rid of that. And are they going to increase the requirements for women? Are they going to make women do as much as men, or are they going to decrease their... I don't know what the plan is there. I don't know if there is a plan. Maybe they'll find a little nice average in the middle. I don't know what the plan is there. I suppose they're probably going to find someone to make a plan, to have a plan, to prepare the plan for what the plan will be. That seems to be the modus operandi here. But let's go back and look at the other thing. Obviously, people suffering from gender dysphoria are trans people. So Project 2025 wants to keep trans people out of the military, and they want to kick them out if they are already in. They also want to keep out people who have some kind of underlying medical condition that might have too great of an impact on their future of their career in the military. That could be a very slippery slope very quickly. If somebody suffered from depression when they were 15 or 16 and now they're all hoorah, gung ho, ready to take the fight to the enemy, are we going to keep them out because they had depression once and that means that they might have it again, which means they might have to get medically diagnosed? I'm not sure. Now, how they're going to do this without looking at those private medical records from earlier, I'm not sure about that either. I suppose they'll just trust everyone who wants to join that they don't have any of these underlying conditions. If you come in and you're like, hey, I'm ready to join, and they'll be like, well, have you ever had depression? And they'll be like, no. I'm not sure. Again, there probably is a planner who's planning a plan to plan a plan in place there somewhere. But never mind that these poor souls are patriotic enough, love their country enough, want to sacrifice enough, and they're willing to join the military. No, it's not enough that you are physically and mentally capable of doing the job. Project 2025 wants to inject cultural politics into deciding who is good enough to be a bullet sponge or an IED magnet for the next war in some Middle Eastern country, probably Iran. Never mind that little Timmy wants to blow up some insert an Arab or Persian racial slur here for his country. No, the important part is that Timmy used to be Tammy. This is like a look through a mirror darkly of the stereotypical DEI initiative. In the stereotype, the best people are kept out of doing a job because management wants to promote a minority race, or they want to promote a woman, or they want to promote a gay person, or a trans person, instead of the person who would best be able to do the job. Now, Project 2025 wants to let us know that they want to do the same thing as that stereotype, only they're going to keep segments of the population out because of one of their characteristics. They're not going to uplift that segment of the population because of their characteristics. If, and this is a big if, but if there was some kind of cost-benefit analysis done that showed that recruiting trans people was typically disadvantageous to defense readiness, then I could see some sort of policy in place regarding that. But to say that, without exception, all trans people are to be removed and kept out of the military is simply making war-making another battlefield on the cultural front, and as with all of these things, war-making will suffer. But hey, maybe that's the bright side. Whenever I joined the Navy, it was still in the days of don't ask, don't tell. Maybe one of these days I'll be able to get through one of these without talking about when I was in the Navy. We'll see. If you joined the Navy and early on decided you want to get a ticket out, all a guy had to do was to get with another guy and get with another guy. If this is implemented, if this Project 2025 idea is implemented, maybe this will be another ticket out for people who were tricked, hoodwinked, or otherwise propagandized into joining the military. Now, instead of actually having to commit to the bit of being gay, you can just start identifying as and appearing as a member of the opposite sex, and that'll be your one-way ticket out. And hey, again, silver linings. These possibly otherwise good and decent people will be prevented from joining an organization that sees them not as people, but as disposable tools. Maybe this is actually a psych out, and Project 2025 is really just concerned about saving trans lives. I'd rather doubt that, but maybe that's what's going on. We will continue with the military in the next episode. I'm sure we'll all be fine and not at all horrible stuff. We'll start next time on page 103 or 136 of the PDF. Until next episode, take it easy.